Hello, you're listening to Yellow King Filmboy. A new trailer for Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet dropped last night and revealed more information about the movie, and some sleuths online have really taken a deep dive into the trailer to glean some interesting science facts that could well explain the basic premise of the film. There was much talk of a test, and that Tenet is a password, and it's all got something to do with a test that apparently doesn't have a lot of survivors. The test you passed, Martin Donovan's character says to him at one point. Not everybody goes. Welcome to the afterlife. His mission, stop World War III. The word Tenet is a password that ensures people take him seriously. In one scene, Washington sees bullet holes in glass but says the shooting hasn't happened yet. If this movie is about reverse engineering events by bending time and space, then it looks like we're going to be in for an awesome time. Other scenes in the new trailer shows not only numerous explosions, including a very big plane, but also conversations about the importance of reverse engineering time to change the future. So it looks like Tenet isn't about time travel, it's about the people who can manipulate time and thus future events, maybe. Some sleuths online spotted this diagram on a whiteboard in the background in one of the scenes from the trailer. That may shine a light on some of the science behind Tenet. A lot of these graphs are about entropy. Entropy is a measure of the number of possible arrangements the atoms in a system can have. A campfire is an example of entropy. The solid wood burns and becomes ash, smoke and gases, all of which spread energy outwards more easily than the solid fuel. Entropy is one of the few quantities in the physical sciences that require a particular direction for time, sometimes called an arrow of time. As one goes forward in time, the second law of thermodynamics says the entropy of an isolated system can increase but not decrease. Now, the two graphs in the bottom right corner of the whiteboard are called Maxwell's demon. Maxwell's demon can deliberately open the door in the right moment to decrease entropy. In reality though, Maxwell's demon can't decrease entropy without getting a new information, and thus it gets heated, so overall entropy still increases. So basically, the science behind the movie seems to be dealing with entropy or reverse entropy, which doesn't exist in real life, at least we don't think it does. Reversing entropy is reversing time, reversing the way things have become. When John David Washington says inversion, this is the flow of entropy being inverted. In other words, the inversion of the arrow of entropy, the natural law of our world. It won't be the first time that Nolan has used hard science for its primary driver of plot. Nolan worked with Kip Thorne for the film Interstellar. Thorne had the genesis for the film with his producer friend Linda Obst in 2006, before brothers Jonathan Nolan and director Christopher Nolan came along to develop his story. Thorne remained on board as executive producer and science consultant and insisted on two guidelines: that nothing in the film violates the laws of physics, and that any speculative science originates from real theories that have been peer-reviewed and published. The film's story involves wormholes, quantum gravity, and a supermassive black hole. In the new trailer for Tenet, there was no mention of a release date, which I presume is because the release date is still up in the air due to the lockdown. The production budget of the film is in the 200 million range, making it one of the most expensive original films ever made, and Nolan shot the film in 7 countries around the world. The director himself called Tenet his greatest undertaking during an interview last December. He said, "We're jumping off from the point of view of an espionage film, but we're going to a number of different places," Nolan said at the time. "We're crossing a few different genres in a hopefully exciting and fresh way. We shot in 7 countries all over the place with a massive cast and huge set pieces. There's no question it's the most ambitious film we've made." The Tenet trailer debuted on Fortnite, followed by a conversation with Washington. He said, "I'm overwhelmed with joy and disbelief," the actor said about the trailer. "There's little nuggets of information and breadcrumbs of info about the movie that I was surprised that he was going to reveal, and I love that he did." So, are you hyped for Tenet? As always, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Christopher Nolan stands to make some serious moolah if his new film is successful, it has been reported today. Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet has been highlighted by the movie industry as the film to kickstart the cinema industry in the wake of the pandemic. The $200 million espionage epic from Nolan is the only big film coming out at the peak of summer 2020 that is still anchored to its original release date. It's a risky strategy due to the unknown developments regarding the pandemic. Theatres are still closed around the world, and the plans to reopen remain in the air for everyone. Yet Tenet, if released as planned, will be the first major theatrical release since early March. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, the film could open in cinemas and very few will go and see it due to the continued concern over the pandemic. Then again, on the other hand, if the timing is right and pandemic figures keep dropping, Tenet will be the first major movie released in 2020 since February, and it could capitalize on this situation with great success with a public who have been starved of new content and are desperate to get back to normal life. And reports out today have stated that Christopher Nolan could be super flush with spondoolies if the film is successful. Allegedly, Nolan stands to make 20% of Tenet's first dollar box office gross, thanks to a lucrative deal he made with Warner Bros. A few years back. That puts the importance of the film's box office performance higher, as the film was not cheap to produce, with a reported budget of $200 million. Industry experts say that Tenet will have to clear $400 million globally just to break even. If Tenet does go on to make $400 million and breaks even, Christopher Nolan would stand to make $80 million. That's some take-home pay. Nolan has been on this deal with Warner Bros. For the last few years, and that deal was in place for Dunkirk, which grossed $525 million against a budget of $100 million. Over the last few years, studios are asking everyone, even established directors, to share in the risk of a project. This means that generally, directors are making less on the front end of films like Nolan on Dunkirk, but are taken care of on the back end. Even more incentive to make a film that gets moviegoers in seats. When American Sniper made nearly $500 million in pure profit, for example, director Clint Eastwood is said to have cashed in big time. In similar fashion, when Gravity earned over $600 million in profit the year before, star and producer Sandra Bullock is said to have earned nearly $70 million because of a back-end percentage deal. There's still a lot of money to be made, an insider clarified, but only when the movie works. The big question is, will Tenet be a success in this very unique moment in time? Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet is a big movie event, not just because that it's a new movie from one of the most talented directors working today, but now it has been claimed that Tenet is being pegged as the film that will effectively herald the return of cinemas. Or not. That is what the bigwigs in the movie industry are saying. Tenet is more than a movie, Variety tells us. They say it's the spark that cinemas are counting on to ignite a movie-going revival in the US and beyond. Though plenty of people are saying that it's too early to release the film. If Tenet is released in cinemas in July but does not perform well at the box office, some film industry people are saying it could mean that no major films will be released in the cinema until at least Christmas. Disney CEO Bob Chapek indicated recently the studio will see how Nolan's film goes to decide what to do about their live-action Mulan film. And of course, there is always the chance that Nolan's Tenet will be delayed due to the pandemic. A new report in the Washington Post suggests that should such a delay happen, it will have major ramifications for the entire film industry and theatrical exhibition, in particular with one studio executive saying its delay will push everything. If Tenet it doesn't come out or doesn't succeed, every other company goes home. It's no movies until Christmas, he says. So a lot is riding on the success of Tenet. The film's budget is a whopping £190 million, which even without a pandemic has already raised a few eyebrows from industry insiders, with many commenting that Warner Brothers took quite a risk on the film. So yeah, I think personally, even with no pandemic, this film may struggle. Of course, there is going to be tons of interest. The Nolan fans, the movie aficionados are going to be, of course, crazy interested to see what magic and mystery Nolan has brought to the screen with this new film. But for the general public, Mr. and Mrs. Joe public, are they going to be rushing in their droves to see this at the cinema? What the film is about is cloaked in mystery, so it's difficult to sell it as there's no particular theme to latch onto, no solid idea or story to entice the public in. The name Tenet is a kind of ambiguous, unusual name. It's hard to market something when it's not clearly defined. For me, I'm mad to see it, but I think it's going to struggle. It could get the greatest reviews going. I feel it will still struggle to make its money back. And then add to that the whole pandemic, with people unsure of even going to the cinema. If I was Nolan, I would certainly be postponing this release, that's for sure.